Our project that we've been working with here. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. So on Friday we were doing some different things. We worked on editing, right? And also deleting, I believe. You weren't here. Indeed you weren't. Okay, so let's talk about kind of what we did here in this edit component. Let's go through this a little bit. What's happening here on line 4, Alejandro?
We're importing navigate from that reach router. That's new.
Yeah, this is new. So Reach Router is this library that we're installing, which allows us to create kind of the illusion that there are different pages in our application, right? You'll have different routes and different views associated with those routes. All right, great. What do you think navigate might be? What kind of thing do you suspect?
Navigate to reach or to the files.
Yeah. So what might that be? A hook, I heard. No, it's not a hook because it's actually not coming from React, right? And anytime we import a hook, usually its name is going to have use in front of it, like use state, use effect, right? They all start with use. And if you create your own custom hooks, you should be putting use in front of it just like that as well. Okay, cool. All right. Anyone want to guess what navigate is? What type of thing that is? What type of thing is it, though? Is that a string that I'm importing?
Function.
Function. There we go. Boom. Great. All right, cool. Let's keep going. Line 6, Andrew.
The functions.
Start here. Start on the left.
We create a constant variable called CD, which is a function that will take ID as an input, and then
It's not going to take ID as an input. What's it going to take? Notice how ID is nested inside of an object, right? What's that object? What do we usually call that? Props. It's the props object, right? So I've specifically destructured the ID from that props object. All right? Cool? Next, line 7, Manny.
Line 7, we're creating city and set city. So city is a value and set city is an object, I believe.
No.
Or a function. No, it's a function.
Function.
Yeah. And then we're using use state and setting it to null.
Okay. What does that mean if we're setting it to null?
We're probably expecting a string versus.
No. If whatever I pass to use state, what's that? What is that telling use state? What's the point of passing something to it?
If we're changing the state of, in this case, the set city function, so it'll pass whatever we're changing.
Placeholder, okay, yeah, I mean that's a decent idea. Placeholder in the sense that this is the initial state. Whatever I pass to this is what I want that state to start out as, right? So in this case, I'm just saying it's going to be null to begin with because I don't have any information about the city just yet. And then what do we call this over here? When we see these square brackets here, and I've got some variables inside that. Destructuring, right? I'm destructuring this array that this thing is going to give me back. It's going to give me back 2 elements inside of an array. All right, good.
Excuse me. Is it the same thing instead of null? We put empty array or empty object.
No, they're a little bit different. So first off, I definitely wouldn't put an empty array inside there. The reason being is because all I'm looking for is one single city. I'm not looking for an array of cities, right? I wouldn't really want to put an empty object either because that's sort of telling me that, hey, I already have an object to do something with, which I really don't. Because I'm not going to get it until I actually make my API call, right? It's not to say that you couldn't get away with doing that. You could definitely try to make that work. I'm just being a little more explicit here about saying, I don't even have this city yet at all, right?
Is there any difference between empty array or empty object? Because I saw in the platform somewhere you use empty object, but you always use empty array. What is the difference between these? Not in this situation, in general.
Well, you would only use the empty array if you're expecting back an array of things, right? If it's like, if I'm only looking for one object, one piece of data, I'm not going to use an empty array. Empty array is if I'm expecting some list of things. Okay.
So, also about like on line 7 also, when you're destructuring the use state response, just trying to read it because it's always been awkward to me. So we're saying we're destructuring it. We're going to have a city variable as an array, but then also like a
No,
set-
city's not an array. It's going to be one object, right, that has the name, the population, and the URL.
Right. So then how do I? Then what exactly is city at that point? Is a single element?
You mean at the very beginning, when I first run this? Well, it's going to be null, because
Well,
that's the initial state.
I guess in regards to if you do const bracket, the array bracket versus const object brackets. Right, like, what would be
Oh,
the
like if I
difference
use curly braces or anything?
yeah, like what would be the difference between interpretation of that?
Well, the difference is that if you use the curly braces, that means that we're destructuring an object. The return value of use state is not going to be an object. It's going to be an actual array.
Oh, okay.
That's why we have to use array destructure.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. So let's keep going. Line 9, Nick.
We're invoking use effect
Good.
arrow function to that like Axios obviously copying
So Axios is this library that we've imported up here, right? It's the entire library. So before we even get into kind of the body of this right here, we've given this use effect function 2 arguments, right? The first one is what?
first one is the get function.
Well, the first one is an arrow function, this entire thing, right? So all the way down here. What's the second argument that we pass to use effect here?
Get.
Yeah. Our arguments are separated by a comma, right? So where's the second one?
The bracket.
Down here, right? So what does that mean?
Empty array.
Empty array. And that's telling React what exactly? Why do we do this? We only want to run this effect one time, right? I don't want to keep making this API call every time something in the component changes. Because every time something changes, we're going to run back through this code. Which means that I would keep making that call again and again. It would be a never-ending loop, essentially.
It's like a redirect.
It's like a what?
Redirect.
Redirect.
No, there's no redirect here. No, there's no redirect here because we're not actually changing pages at all, right? All we're doing is we're saying, I only want to run this callback function one time. That's what that array, that empty array is saying.
So then, if you pass an argument of city, that means every single time city value changes.
If I put city inside this array, yes. Yeah, and say that every time city had changed, let me rerun this callback function inside the use effect. Which would again cause that same ending loop, right? Because
Right.
when you get it back from the API call, it would change. Then you would
Call it
keep
again,
doing
and
the
then
same
it would
thing.
be
Yeah,
defined,
create
yeah.
that cycle. Exactly. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. Line 10, Paul.
Access library the get method that IP address.
Good.
So we're getting back to a specific IP.
So I'm using this ID that I took into the component, right, as a prop. Good. And then what? So this is returning what? Axios.get gives me back what? Axios.get returns what, guys? A promise, right? It's a promise that, hey, I'll get back to you in that city at some point, right? Okay, cool. So then when we invoke this guy, we invoke the then method, what do we pass to that? Well, I'm hearing a lot of different things. What are we giving to it? Sorry about that.
What we receive or what you're giving?
It's undefined.
At the beginning?
No. What I'm asking here is what are we passing to when we call then? What did we give to it?
You gave it the JSON that Axios.
No.
Just a variable?
No.
Couldn't you name that anything?
No, what are we passing to then right here? There's a lot
Callback
of
function.
A callback function.
Yeah.
Yes!
We're 2 levels deep already. Trick question.
Alright, good. So the callback function is what exactly? What are we doing?
You're getting the thing that Axios returns.
That's our response.
And then you are using your state function that you called set city, and then you're setting city to response.data. So in the response object, the dot data. Dot data.
There we go. Cool. So now we're updating that city, and hopefully we actually got the city that we were expecting. So then this value should effectively change the next time this code is going to be run, right? All right. Good. Now, one thing that kind of came up over the weekend was this question of, right after I've set city right here, if I expanded this function out here and I console logged city, what would you guys expect it to do?
You would expect it to be that, but it would not show anything because it's not done through yet. It would be an empty. Is data?
So show of hands, how many people think that city right after here, if I were to expand this function, would be null?
Yeah.
Well, when do you
Four
when do you
people?
when do you put the print statement?
Like in another dot then.
Yeah. Do you put it inside the then statement? Or-
Sorry, let me actually be explicit and show you guys what I mean. So let's say I expand this out like this.
Oh, okay. Then it should be the city itself.
So I go set city, and then I just go console log city.
Yeah, it should be the city.
Right.
Or whatever the response is.
Okay? So again, how many people are expecting this right here to be null? 2 people. And 1.5 because Michael doesn't really like it. He's like, yeah, whatever. Maybe. All right, so the rest of you are thinking that this should be the actual city, right?
Right. Yeah.
Let's
Whatever
test it.
the response is. Response not fine.
All right, guys. So let's open up the console and let's keep an eye on what's going on here, right? Are we betting?
Not anymore because he's doing it.
Okay, so we're at our cities here. I'm going to click on a specific city. Let me open up my console tab here. Burbank.
Nothing was lost.
Oh my
We were all wrong.
Is everyone okay back there? Wow.
Even more was
Did this call go through the way that we were expecting it to?
Wait, what? Why do you have so many? You have like plugins?
You're at city detail, not at the city. I think you're on the main page.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Jeez. My bad. Thank you, Juan.
Good job, man.
The voice of reason always comes through. All right, cool. So let's get back to the edit page. If I click on Edit Burbank, hey, there it is, null.
Ooh.
What the heck is going on here, people?
Broken promise.
Jesus. All right, so there's kind of a reason why I wanted to touch on that because this happened over the weekend with Melanie, and the question was, why is this not updated yet?
Oh, it's because you haven't changed the state.
It's because we actually haven't gotten to the point where we're rerunning through this code, right? It's not until the code starts to rerun that value has truly updated. So at this point, it's not yet updated. Still no. Yeah. Now, of course, if I were to do that log up in here somewhere, the first time we come through, it would be null, right? And then the second time it comes through, it would be the actual city. So we can test that as well.
Like that one makes sense. I'm still like a little confused on why console.log. But you think like
Why
set
that's
city,
null?
Yeah, because you think like whenever set city gets called, right? It would update the city of that on that line right there.
Right. So it has to do with how React updates these things. So when it updates, it's basically like setting something to happen at some point in the future, sort of like setting aside tasks. And then the next time this code reruns, we'll see that updated city.
So there's like the way React works is sometimes with queue and refresh rather than
Yeah, it's like a task.
Oh,
Literally,
okay.
is it waiting for the next operation to happen, or is it waiting until the last, in this particular instance, is it waiting for local host to get done?
No, it's not waiting for that because that already did happen, right? We're inside of our .then.
Okay.
So that's already done. But it,
Literally gonna have to run twice, like rerun your thing?
yeah, now watch. Let me bring this console log back out here. And then let's go back to where we were. Refresh. So see, the first time I log it, it's null, and then the second time I actually have my city data. So that's what's going on, right? That code had to rerun in order to actually cause the re-render.
So out of curiosity then, right? So in terms of the task,
And this sort of makes sense because if you think about it, things had to re-render, in order to kind of show that data, right? The first time it rendered, I didn't even have that city data. So we did have to render this twice, correct?
right?
Yeah.
So out of curiosity then, because in terms of like that task thing you're referring to, does it like get executed after its current context is completed? So like if you did, instead of like doing the console print inside that then, you'll append another then?
Yeah, does it?
So this way like that the scope of that function finishes and then it'll like run the tasks to update the city. And then you can do like a console.log.
No, I don't believe that would work either. What you're saying. So what you're saying is let's
Let's like add another dot then.
add another dot then. Yeah, perhaps if you did like a set timeout, you could get it to show maybe.
So then, but doesn't set city or set anything?
But there's still no. I don't think there's still necessarily a guarantee that you would
Okay.
you'd see the result. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Doesn't set state cause or render anything?
Well, it's gonna cause a re-render, but look at where it's happening. Set city is happening inside of a .then. We've already gotten all the way past all of that inside of our code. We've already rendered the initial page, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's not until we kind of come back through it that value has been properly set as whatever the city was. All right. Let's not get too deep in the woods on that.
Okay.
Line 17, Chris.
Creating a function for functions handler.
Good.
That's another thing. You destructure the value inside of the and then you're setting the city with the spread operator of city, so it takes in all the values from the city before, and then add a new value to bring it and then that's it. So like you're adding it to
So yeah, it's not that we're adding a new name to the city. What the name is actually the name of that input, right?
Oh.
And it's saying whatever that input is called, I want to use its name as the key,
Oh, it's
and then the value is going to be whatever the value of that input is, right? Okay. All right, good. Next, where are we? Who's back there? Sorry, I can't see it. Oh, Esteban. Esteban, line 26. Let's try to get a little more explicit here. It's a handler function, okay? So here's how I'd like you to answer this. Something like, we're declaring a function called handle submit. It's taking in what? What? Can you see that okay? All right, so the function handle submit that we declare is taking in what? Taking an event. Okay, cool. And then what are we doing inside the body of that function? Right. What's the default functionality of an HTML form? So by default, what an HTML form is going to do is it's going to make a new request to whatever we put into action attribute, right? Okay? And then depending on what method we establish, it will either be a post or a get post. All right. Now, if I don't put anything inside the action attribute, do you guys know where that form would be submitted to? Whatever current URL. So by default, it would just be whatever page I'm on. But I don't want that to happen, right? So that's the whole prevent default. Let's not let this form submit the way that it would normally. Okay? Next, line 29. Still Esteban. So what am I doing here? Okay. I'm calling the put method, right? Against what? What are the arguments I'm providing? The URL, okay. That's one. What else? Just says city right there. Okay, so the other thing that we're providing is what is the city data? How do we want this thing to be updated, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
So we can name that ID in the city to the URL.
This right here, yeah, exactly. So we're concatenating the ID onto it so that our backend then knows which city were we trying to update, right? Cool. All right. Next, Jordan, tell me what's going on with line 30. Yes. Good.
Using the direct router navigate function that you navigate to the city's page.
Yeah. So reach router, actually. I mean, there is a React router that's a separate library, but yeah, reach router in this case. Now, I could have taken something in, right? Because my backend is returning me the updated city object. But since I wasn't really using it in what I was trying to do here, I didn't list it as a parameter. Okay? And then here, the .catch just means what? So yeah, if something goes wrong, let's just log it out, right? Okay, cool. Line 34, let's start back here. Melanie, what's happening there?
And then you're checking to see if your city state contains
So if this is the case, yeah, I still haven't received back my data from the API, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next, line 38. Vincent?
38. We're returning some JSX.
Yeah.
Which is a fun.
Yeah. Basically, that's it, right? It's a form. We've got our onSubmit, which is going to handle our submits. We've got some values inside here. Any questions about any of this JSX here before we move on? You guys feel pretty good about that? Yeah? All right. I feel good about it. Okay.
Also, like, I've always wondered, just in terms of like limitations of what we're doing. Because we're always adding, at least from a design perspective, you're adding so many on-chain handlers. You're adding so many events.
Sure.
To maintain the value that you're just submitting. Is it just more for like a exercise purpose, or like is it more preferred to go the normal, let's say, lack of a better term, non-React route in which we just have a on-submit event that fetches data from the form once you're actually checking it, rather than reading from the form state?
Kind of depends on how much control you want to have over these inputs at all times, right? So if we're doing like live form validation, in other words, we're validating things the second a person types something into the input,
Yeah.
it's good to have it all controlled like this.
Right, so you don't have to do
Yeah.
at the ending, it's as the error happens.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so like real-time action. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, good. All right, cool. So what we were talking about on Friday is possibly how we could start to reuse this logic a little bit more. And before I even get there, I want to make some small change to our routing real quick, because this is something that you guys might need to use at some point. I just want to show it to you. Okay. So right now we've got some different routes in here, and I've got a not found route, which is default. So if everything else fails, then I'm just going to show that not found page, right? What if I wanted to have like a redirect in my application? In other words, right now I don't really have anything in the index path. What if I wanted to have an index path that actually redirected back to, for instance, this city's component? Let's see how we could do that. So from reach router, I can also import this redirect component. Okay, and then down here, I'm going to say that I want to render this redirect, redirect. We'll say the path will be /, which just means our index route. And then I'm going to say 2 equals cities. Okay? And let's see if we can get that to work. So let's go back to our application real quick. Whoa. Something went bananas. Oh, I forgot the from. Okay, sorry about that. From. Okay, so. Yeah, sure did. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me try to go to the index route here, and let's see what happens. Uh-oh. I got a bit of an uncaught error here. So what happens when we're using the redirect component is that by default it will actually throw an error if a person hits that route that we wanted to redirect them away to. Okay? There's a way to fix that. We can just add another attribute to this component called no throw. So let's do that real quick. So what it's going to do is that if I hit this path, which is my index route, right, it's actually going to throw an error, which will essentially make our page turn completely white like that, or it'll show what the error is on the page itself.
And the reason for that is why?
It's how reach router wants it.
Okay.
They're sort of treating a redirect as really like an error, right? Because you weren't really supposed to go to that.
Gotcha.
But if I add this attribute no throw, it'll make it so that it doesn't actually throw it.
Okay.
Yeah, reach router.
There's like some type of thing that says like how to enter some invalid path this way, as a normal use case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I'm trying to catch traffic that might normally go to this, the index route, that's how I can do it. I can put that redirect component in there. So let's do this, and there we go. You see it just redirected us back to cities the way that we wanted. All right?
So lowercase, no.
So it's camel case. No, and then capital T throw. All right, cool. So just in case you guys need to use redirects at some point, that's how you can do it in the routing itself. Okay.
And also, like, it's out of curiosity in terms of like the way router works. Is it always just like a single path argument can pass it, or you can pass it up multiple ones? So let's say like you have a component that you want to appear in path A, B, and C. You might have to like set them with that particular path.
Yeah, so you do different ones. Like for instance, if I wanted cities to show up for some different route,
Right.
I could do it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're all good on redirects. Now let's get back to the main task at hand. What we were talking about on Friday is that this form that we're dealing with in two places, right? We've got it on the new page and also on the edit page. That's something that we could potentially extract out, right? Turn it into an actual component. So let's talk about doing that. So right now I don't have any I don't have an actual components folder. Let's create one. And then inside here, I'll just create a city form component. Okay. I know I'm going to need some things for the city form, probably the use state hook, right? So we'll say import React use state. What else might I need here? Don't think I'll need use effect. Now, here's why I'm not going to use that, because my form is simply going to be tasked with keeping track of my data and then sending it off to the back end when I'm done. It's not going to be tasked with actually getting the data at the outset, right? Okay. So from React. And then the other thing that I do know I'll need, though, because I'm going to be making API requests probably, Axios. Actually, yeah, I'm kind of thinking that we may be able to get away with not even importing that here, but we'll come back to that. All right, cool. And then we want to create our component, right? So we'll say const city form equals a function. We'll talk about what that's going to take in a minute. And then let's make sure that we actually export it too, so we don't forget. All right, good deal. Let's look at what we had inside of our new city, right? So what do we have here? So we've got some form state here, and then we've got our change handler and so forth. We could probably grab most of this stuff, right? Okay. Let me just go into our city form here, drop that in there. Okay. Now let's talk about what the initial values are going to be for the city form. So for a new city, we do want them to be like this, right? What about for an existing city? Yeah, so where do you think we might get that from?
From the person calling this.
Good, yeah, from the parent component, right? We're probably going to want the parent component to pass down whatever we want the initial values to be. Okay, so let's just let's put that in there. We'll say one of our props is going to be initial values. Okay, and then instead of the name, population, and image URL, why don't I just pass initial values into use state? Okay, so my initial values is going to be some object that has values for all three of those things. Okay, my on-change handler should be pretty good. I don't see any issues with that. And then if we go back to our new city component, let's grab all of this too, right? We want to take this part here. Okay. Notice how I didn't touch the onSubmit handler. Okay. There's a reason why. Is our onSubmit going to behave the same for a new as it is for an existing? No, a little bit different. Why is that? Yeah, exactly. One's going to be a post request, right? And it's just going to be /API/cities. The other one's going to be a put request to API/cities/ whatever the ID of the city is, right? Okay. All right. So anything else we want to do here to the city form? There's probably a couple other things I need to take in as a prop, right? That's what we were talking about here. So let's say submit handler. Okay. And let's leave it at that. So we're going to take in some initial values. We're going to take in a submit handler. And that'll be good. Okay. So let's see how we can bring this in. So if we go into our new city component, let's import this guy, right? So import city form. And I'm going to go from ... which takes me up one level, into my components /city form. Okay. And then, so what I'm going to do down here is instead of rendering all of this stuff, what am I going to return? City form, right? Oops. Yeah, with some props, right? Good. So we'll say city form. Okay. Our initial values are going to be what? Oops. It's going to be an object that has all of these things in it, right? So we'll have name, which is just going to be empty. Population was going to be empty. And then image URL, also empty. Yeah, so we're inside new city right now. And then the other prop that we said that we would give it was what? Our submit handler, right? Handler. Oh, I don't know why I'm doubting my spelling here. Submit handler. Jesus.
Whoa, it's too many.
Now you can see why I shut my computer down the other day. Whew, that's terrible. Okay, so this should actually be called handle submit, right? Handle submit. Okay, cool. So now we don't need any of these guys, right? We don't need our onChange handler, and we don't need all of this up here. And then, which means that we also don't even need use state, right? Okay, fair enough. So let's make sure that this is working right? So let's go back to our app here. Form state is not defined. Oh, maybe it's not, yeah. Oops. Okay, so inside, what? On line 12? Why was I looking for it on there? Oops. Oh, form state. Okay, so here in our handle submit, things are going to have to change a little bit differently, right? So handle submit is going to take in an event. However, that's not going to work the way that we expect it to, right? Because where's my form state living now? Yeah, it's actually living inside the form, right?
You can't just make it so that it takes an argument, which is if he was trying to post.
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll take in an event, and then we'll take in form state, right? Okay, which means that we're going to need to make some changes inside of our city form, right? Okay. So instead of just simply handling submit, what do I need to do? I have to take in an event, and I need to pass the event along with my form state to it. Okay, I want to make sure that we kind of understand this part because that could easily throw people way off.
Would you have a clash with everything? Actually, no.
And let me backtrack real quick just to let you guys know. Abstracting this to a component is not strictly required by the exam. This is purely like for your own knowledge, understanding how to do this, and viewing things in kind of a reactive lens. All right, but let's look back at this city form real quick. So what we did was we made a change to our submit handler, right? Inside of our new city page, I'm saying now this handle submit function will take in two things. It's going to take in the event, and it's going to take in the actual form state. Okay. But does a normal submit event on a form take in a second argument like this? No, it only takes in one argument, which is the event itself, right? So instead what I needed to do is here, when that form is submitted, I created a new inline function here, which is going to take the event, the submit event, and then I'm going to invoke the handle submit function with that event, and I'm also going to pass it in the form state because it needs to know what the form state is. Okay? All right, now let's give this a quick try. So let's say we're going to, well, geez, handle submit is not defined because I called it something else, right?
Yeah, submit handler. Yeah, submit handler. Exactly.
Okay. Watch out with your naming. Handle submit's not defined. Line 18 in city form. Now I got to take that in as well. So handle submit. Okay. There we go. Okay. So let's say we want to create a new city. Let's see if our form is working as expected. I can come in here. What city do we want to add? San Diego, maybe? Wikipedia, San Diego. Population, what? 1.425. All right, let's grab this image here. Copy image address. Cool. San Diego. 1245. Boom. Okay. Fair enough. So that's working the way that we're expecting, right? Okay. Let's see if we can also tweak our edit city page to actually use this new city form, right? Okay. Let me get rid of some of these guys. So in our edit city component, let's import this. So import city form from, again, dot up one level, components, city form. Okay, and then am I going to need to know the, I still need this though, right? Why? Yeah, exactly, because I need to go make that API request to go get the city information, right? So that stuff's good. We'll get rid of this console log because we're not using that anymore. simplify this real quick. Oops. Okay. On change handler, do I need that? Don't need that because that's been delegated to the actual city form. Handle submit, I do still need that, so that's fine. So down here, let's render out the city form, right? City form. Okay. Initial values is going to be what? So again, we've got our name. What's that going to be? It's going to be city.name, right? Population, city.population.
Why not just pass in the city?
Yeah, why not? I actually had a reason for not doing that. Let's see if you guys can figure it out. What does our city look like when we get it back from the database? Does it have some extra things to it that I'm not interested in? Right? Like created at, updated at, and all that sort of stuff. Alright, so I'm just saying image URL equals city image URL. Okay, so there's our initial values, and the other thing that we want is our handle submit again, right? Alright, let's see if we can make this work. If I go, oops, we do need to change something about handle submit, right? What were we doing with that? So instead, it needs to take the actual data, right? So I'm going to change the name here because I don't want that to get mixed up with my other city. I'm just going to say we're going to pass in some data. And then here, when I make my put request, I'll pass that data along with it. All right. Now let's give this a shot. Let's see if we can update our cities. What the heck? Okay, so let's say I want to edit Burbank here. Change population to 100,000. Okay, looked like that happened okay, right? Still working. All right, nice. So what we've successfully done is we've successfully taken out that, that form logic and put it into its own component. The only other thing that we have left is to do validations. Do you guys want to do that right now, or you want to wait until the afternoon? Hands on this. Who wants to do it now? You're in the minority. Oh, that's close. Who wants to do it in the afternoon?
That's right now.
Gosh, it's a toss-up.
I'm down for a coin.
Or like, if you do it later, or if you do it now, what do you do later?
Say that again. If we can do it now, we can do it later.
No, if you do it now, what do we do later? Or what do they spend that time on that?
Oh,
Study.
If you do deployment, I'll
Yeah, I thought it was that too, man. That's pretty good. I'm curious on how it's gonna be.
let's do it this afternoon, because I think that I might be losing people now, and I don't want to keep drawing on. Let's do it this afternoon.